Hello, everyone. Welcome. Give it just a few seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right. We are so excited to introduce the Salesforce Workflow Connector, which brings the breadth and depth of our industry-leading Salesforce integration to the power of form assembly workflows. Our team has been working long and hard on this upgrade, so we are delighted to unveil it to you today. So welcome to your front row seat as we talk through the highlights of the redesigned connector experience and then demo it in action. All right, so my name is Shelly. I am a senior product designer here at Form Assembly. I've been working very closely on our new connectors, and I'm joined by my colleague, Brianna Georgie, Solutions Engineer and Sales Enablement Manager. And what we will be doing today is we are going to be talking through the upgrades and capabilities of the new connector. So I'll talk through what it means to be powered by workflow and point out the highlighted features of the new connector experience. And then I'll turn it over to Brianna for the main event, which is a live demo of the new connector in action. So really excited to get started. Let's jump right in. All right, so the new Salesforce Workflow Connector has been optimized for form assembly workflow, allowing you to visualize the flow of your data and configure your connector from right within the workflow canvas. The UI has been modernized and streamlined, and the updates you'll see and hear about today have been designed as a result of your feedback over the years. So all of the user feedback forms that you've submitted, all of the discussions you've had with your customer success managers or your implementation advisors, all of the support tickets that have been submitted over the years, they've all fed into the updates that we are providing in this new connector experience. Similar to the form native Salesforce connector that you know and love, you can create a record, look up a record, update a record, and upload a file using a Salesforce workflow connector. But now you can pass data to and from multiple forms in a single connector. Additionally, gone are the days of separate pre-fill, submit, and after submit connectors. The Salesforce Workflow Connector does it all in one. We're very excited to show off our redesigned query builder, which introduces a Salesforce-like filter notation that provides a more intuitive and powerful lookups. So this allows you to easily visualize and reference your lookup query conditions. So if you compare the lookup query on the left of the slide deck versus on the right, the left is our form native Salesforce connector. The right is our new Salesforce workflow connector. So as soon as you add more than one condition to your lookup query in the Salesforce workflow connector, you have the option to select that all conditions must be satisfied. Any condition can be satisfied, or you can create custom logic. Selecting custom logic allows you to write out a custom argument that's immediately validated by our syntax checker. So you're able to see very clearly what your lookup query is and what your logic argument is. Using that same simplified interface and filter notation as the lookup query builder, preconditions will replace complex skip-if formulas. So establishing preconditions allows you to easily and efficiently set the criteria for when a connector action runs, and it's much easier to decipher what those criteria are when reviewing your connector configuration. So again, just compare the screenshots of our form native skip-if formula on the left to its precondition counterpart on the right. Much simpler, much easier to know what's going on and when that connector is going to run. The Salesforce Workflow Connector allows you to create innumerable actions within a single connector, and you decide whether those actions run independently or dependently of one another. Action dependencies allow you to define the execution order of connector steps, which are now called actions, enabling precise sequential execution and complex dependency logic. So in this way, you can create complex instruction sets that are easily managed with customizable action titles and descriptions. And what I am most excited to introduce to you today is variables that we are introducing to your form assembly workflows. So now, in addition to returning a records ID, like you can with the Salesforce object alias, you can also return the value of any Salesforce field and save it as a variable in your workflow. This eliminates the need to use hidden fields in your forms to reuse these values. After you create a variable, it can then be used throughout the workflow in any workflow native or document step. Feedback from our beta testers has revealed that utilizing variables is already unlocking new use cases, and we really can't wait to learn how you will start to use them in your workflows. Additionally, the Salesforce Workflow Connector is built with Salesforce's Composite API. So this update reduces the number of API calls and thereby improves efficiency. Also, with the release of our new document generation feature, when the Salesforce Workflow Connector rolls out, you'll be able to configure the connector to automatically send generated documents that you configure to Salesforce. Super exciting. If you haven't already, definitely sign up for the document generation session here at the user conference to learn more about that very exciting new feature. Plus, with the introduction of Workflow Replay, you can easily reprocess your workflow native connectors and forms rather than restarting a workflow execution. This ensures more efficient error resolution and less manual intervention. Any stalled or errored processes can restart exactly from the point of failure with the simple click of the replay button. So now, what you've all been waiting for, Brianna is going to demo the new connector in action. So I'll turn it over to you, Brianna.
Yeah, thanks, Shelly. Let me share my screen here. All right, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brianna, and I'm really excited to walk you through our brand new Salesforce connector. The use case I'm going to present today is a simple lead generation workflow. So here's a quick glance of the form that we're working with, just your basic requested demo lead generation form. And what we're going to do in this use case is determine if the lead is already within our Salesforce. If it is, great. We're going to update that contact with additional information. And if it is not, we're going to create a new contact. So let's get started. We're in the workflow builder. I already have the form set up and the page redirect. And next, we're going to add our Salesforce connector. We're going to go ahead and authorize it and then get ready to configure. Now, right off the bat, you'll see immediate benefit from time to authorization to configuration. Whereas this used to take a little bit of time to load, now we can immediately get started. So our first action is going to be our lookup step. And this is new. Now you can name every single action, every single step, and you can add a description. So this description would be to look up to find whether a lead exists or not. All right. And then we're going to head over to our action, and we have a few to choose from. We have create, update, look up a record, and upload a file. We're going to select look up a record, and the object we're going to look to is lead. However, you may have noticed how easy that was to find. If you're familiar with our former Salesforce connector, you may have had to scroll through to find contact or the object that you're looking for, whereas right now it's super simple and straightforward. That is a huge new improvement. Moving on to our lookup query, we're going to use the unique identifier email, and it's going to map to email within our form. So this is likely something you're already familiar with, but what is new is adding multiple conditions. And for context here, lookup queries determine conditions for identifying records in Salesforce. So let's say if we stretch this use case a bit, maybe we wanted to look up by email or first name and last name or phone number. Now, whereas formerly this was not the most intuitive thing to do, it could be a little cumbersome to line up the and the ors. You had to get it exactly in the right format and layout and have the right sequence of events. But here you have a lot more flexibility. And really it comes down to these three options. So all conditions can be satisfied, any condition can be satisfied, and custom. Now, custom is where we can really make this our own. So for example, in what I just shared, we are looking up now email, what this is showing, email or first name and last name or phone number. So there's different variations of unique identifiers we can look up for. And if I click backspace, you'll notice our syntax checker. So this was expecting me to say or, not just O. So you'll also get a little hint there too if you're missing something. Now, let's go ahead and delete these so we're back to our use case. And if no record is found, we're going to continue with dependent actions. And if multiple records are found, we're going to pick the most recently modified. These are the same selections you know and love, so we're going to breeze through that. On to our mapping, and as Shelly mentioned, this is what we're really excited for here, and that is variables. So variables are incredibly powerful. They replace object aliases and eliminate the need for hidden fields to carry data across steps. So let's say Form 1 collects an email, but you also need it in step 5. In the past, you'd use a hidden field, but now you're just going to store it as a variable and use it anywhere in your workflow. So for this example, we're going to store lead status and lead industry for later. And you can see right here, I have options to, if I wanted to pre-fill it right here and now, I would select form field, but I want to save it for later. And that is where I will define it as a variable. And this is basically just saying, hey, form assembly, this information is really important. I'm not going to use it just yet. So hang on to it and we'll pull it out later. All right, that is everything for the first step. Now we're going to add another action. This second action is going to be our update step. And we're going to add a description that is to update the lead if record is bound. And our action is going to be the update action. Our object is going to be the lead. Now pause here for a second because this is big. We have our lookup step and our update step in one single window, whereas before you would have needed two connectors together. So maybe your pre-fill connector and your submit connector right after it. Now it's all in the same place. So we're going to continue down and map field to field, email, same thing. We're going to continue dependent and pick most recently modified. Now, for our mapping, this is also new. You may be familiar with how we would do it in the form native Salesforce connector where we would map first name, go down the list. Not anymore. Now you can easily just click add all standard fields, and in one fell swoop, all of your fields from your workflow are automatically listed there. So now I only have to go down one side and map to what we're looking at in Salesforce. Now we're going to add one more item here at the end, and that is going to be our local today function. And what we're doing is we're sending over the today's date over to Salesforce to say this was the last touch point date. And of course, if we were to really add context to this use case, it could trigger a nurture campaign or notify a seller to reach out, so on and so forth. But let's pop up to the top and we're going to add a precondition. Now, preconditions replace skip ifs, but they work in reverse. So you define a precondition to determine when an action will run versus creating a skip if formula to determine when an action won't run. So another really powerful add-on. And we're going to select our variable. This is the first time we're going to use it, and we're going to say lead status, and you have all these options here, is not blank, and that's it. Really simple. This is the first time we're using our return variable here. And notice now we can do it all without glancing at a formula reference page. And gone are the days of troubleshooting just to realize that you were missing a comma or the quotes were in the wrong place. Formally, something like this might look like at if parentheses TFA underscore 4 equals double quotes, comma true, comma false. Now you just select from the dropdown. We're going to add our dependency, and this dependency is going to run after the lookup step. This is new, but we're going to dive into that in the next feature. So let's close out this window, add an action, and the last action we're going to add, let me minimize that, is our create step. I'm going to add a description that is create lead if no record is found. And the parameters are going to be the same. We're going to create, it'll be our lead object. We're again going to add all standard fields. And again, we're going to add the today's date function. So bear with me while I fill this out real quick. First name, last name, email, phone. And you can really see how just being able to search right here also is making it so much easier to quickly define where this is supposed to be going in Salesforce. Great. So now we're going to go ahead to the top and we're going to add our precondition, which is again going to use our variable of lead status. And this time we're going to say is blank, because if the lead status is blank, that indicates to us that the lead is not yet in Salesforce. And we're going to add our dependency. And it automatically says, I assume you want it after the last step before this, but that's not true in this case. Now, one thing that's really powerful about this new way of doing dependencies is that you can make steps sequential or independent actions in parallel. So I could say I want the lookup and update step, this to only run after those, or the update step, but really I just want it to look after the lookup step. And this is really big for just making it so simple for you to clearly indicate exactly when you want the step to run and what it's dependent on. Right, I think that is everything for the Salesforce connector. Let's collapse the window. Again, you can just see how easy it is if somebody needs to come in here and edit a specific step. They can dive right into the exact step they're looking for to be able to modify that action. Now, a fun little surprise at the end is going to be our Google Sheets connector and how we can use return variables with inside Google Sheets. So I'm just going to configure this really quick. I'm going to again add all standard fields, and then I'm going to pull in our variables. Now remember, there are no hidden fields in the form. This is strictly, we're taking out of our pocket now and we're saying, all right, time to use it. So let's find that local today, save. All right, and that is it. So let's go ahead and give this a run through. For better or for worse, I'm going to use my own name and email address. And we're here at Form Assembly. Go ahead and click Submit. Great, and now we're going to head over to the Responses tab. Now responses, and within that single response is where you're going to find the connector logs. So if I view these logs, you can see I have a lookup step where it found the ID, it found that record, and then it continued on with an update step, and it skipped the create step because that precondition was not met. The lead status was in fact not blank. The connector inserted one row into the Google spreadsheet, which if we pop this open here, you'll see right there, it is added just like that very quickly. Now, that is it for this live demo. We've just walked through a full lead generation workflow using our brand new Salesforce connector, from lookups to updates to conditional record creation, and even pulling data into external tools, as you see here, like Google Sheets using variables. So this means a faster setup, fewer errors, and way more flexibility, whether you're building a simple workflow or complex automations. Off to you, Shelley.
Okay, thanks, Brianna. Hopefully you all enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm very excited about this connector. And now I am here to answer a few of your questions. So we've had a lot of questions about how the new workflow connector interacts with our form level or form native connectors. So what will happen to my existing Salesforce connectors? Your existing form native Salesforce connectors will remain untouched. You can begin using the workflow native connector at any time following release, but you won't be required to migrate. So you'll still be able to create new form native Salesforce connectors should you wish, but we hope that the upgrades that we've demonstrated today will encourage you to begin utilizing the new workflow native connector. So all of your existing connectors remain untouched, continue to work and look as they do now, but you can go into your workflow builder and create new workflow native connectors in the way that you've seen today. When will the new Salesforce workflow connector be released? We are very excited to say that this is coming next week. So be on the lookout for in-app and email communications that will announce when it's live. And we are excited for you all to get in there, start utilizing it. Let us know how you're using it. Provide us all the feedback that you can. And we're really excited for you to get started. What will be the cost of the new Salesforce workflow connector? The upgraded connector is going to be available as a part of your Salesforce add-on at no additional cost. So if you already have the form native Salesforce connector and a plan that includes form assembly workflows, you will have access. So those are going to be our teams and above plans. So definitely, I'm getting ahead of myself now, but I'm going to go ahead and swap over to our resources. I think I clicked the right button to get there. But you should be able to see a link in your resources section here in the webinar platform in order to get demos or talk to one of our team members about an upgraded plan if you are looking to get access to form assembly workflows. If you attended the keynote this morning, there are a lot of updates to form assembly workflows coming out now. We've got workflow replay, we've got document generation, and we're going to be continuing to push out updates to form assembly workflows throughout the rest of the year. We're really excited about it. And we're looking forward to hearing how you're going to be using your workflows and the new Salesforce workflow connector. Last question. As of this time, there's not going to be a migration, an automatic migration. So any connectors that you're looking to build in the workflow native connector are going to need to be manually transitioned. So let us know how that goes, and we're looking forward to hearing more. All right, I think that wraps it up for us. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your time at FormFest. And again, the Workflow Native Connector is going to be available next week, only in Workflow. So check it out. Be on the lookout for our in-app and email communications. And yeah, happy form building and happy workflow building. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.